Hi, this is Trepacer. I'm gonna do something a little unusual for my Saturday horror reviews. I'm gonna talk about a movie that I've seen plenty of times and a movie that I absolutely love. And it's technically horror. It's more of a horror action movie. And of course, I'm talking about 1998's Blade. Okay, starring Wesley Snipes, Chris Christopherson, Stephen Dorff. Um, this a lot of people give credit for the I guess the 2000 version. I think it came out in 2000. The X-Men as the kind of the first, I guess, successful superhero movie. But I think actually Blade actually kind of started the trend actually because it came out in 1998. It was like an action horror movie, and of course starring Blade, who's half, half man, half vampire and half mortal, who who slays, basically takes on the task of killing vampires. He hates vampires and he takes on the task of killing them. He's also works with a guy named Whistler, played by Chris Christopherson, who basically found Blade when he was like a teenager living on the street, eating rats and stuff, and basically took him in, trained him, helped him develop the serum that tries to keep the thirst away from him. And I wanted to talk about this movie, about what the impact of this movie basically did on the comic book genre and in horror as well, because here you have a character who's half a vampire but still a vampire technically, and he fights against vampires. He fights to kill vampires. Okay, and which I think I'm trying to remember if there were ever vampires that killed, actually hunted vampires in any movies before this. Not that I can think of. Not off a hand. I don't think there were. So this, this creation by I think Marv Wolfman and I forgot. I think Gene Colan, I think, are the creators of Blade in the comic books. I think Marv Wolfman, I think Gene Colan. I think those are the two that created the character of Blade. It's like I said, half vampire, half man, half mortal man. And what I love about this movie, especially the opening sequence of this movie, is it basically starts off like a party, like a rave, and you see this vampire chick basically lure a guy to a club that's basically full of vampires, and he's basically there to be sacrificed. And then all of a sudden, you hear that thumping, techno music, and then all of a sudden you turn around and you see that slow camera pan shot of Wesley Snipes dressed as Blade, where he proceeds to basically kick ass for the next 5 to 10 minutes, just kick total ass and make such an appearance, such a force in this movie, and just be a total badass. Okay, and they called him Daywalker in there, which I thought was another cool nickname. They call him Daywalker because, of course, since he's half mortal and half vampire, he doesn't need to sleep like vampires. They call him a Daywalker because he can walk around during the day. And like I said, he basically, he has all his tools. He has a sword, his stars, his guns, and he's just his character is just a total badass. And Wesley Snipes totally owns his role. And this was directed. The first movie was directed, of course, by Stephen Norbury and written by David S. Goya. And the movie was to me, such a force and such a memorable movie. I remember when it came out, I went to see this, and I hadn't heard about it. I think the only other time that I saw the character of Blade was on a Spider-Man cartoon, because I think the one that used to come on Fox. I think that was the only other time that I saw, the character of Blade, and I didn't know much about him. I know he was in the. They say he made his debut in the Tomb of Dracula comic book, which I never read, so I didn't know about the character, all his backstory and all that stuff. But I found out about it, of course, through the movies. Okay, and the character again is just a total one of the all-time total badass characters that were ever created for comics. And then, of course, now translated into 3 movies. And I absolutely just love the character because, like I say, he was a total badass. Okay, he hunted vampires. He hated them and hunted them, and he could kick ass, and he's just a cool character. And what was not to like? And of course, you get the horror element, of course, him being a vampire, and of course, and having to take the serum to combat the thirst, to keep the thirst down, so he wouldn't, attack humans. And the character, him and of course, what's Chris Christopherson, who played Whistler, they made a great team. And what was not to like about this, the character. Now the second movie, of course, the first movie he fought, Stephen Dorff's character Deacon Frost, who wanted to take over the vampire hierarchy and stuff, and of course he battled Blade, and in that movie, and he was a nice villain. Stephen Dorff, I think, did a good job as a villain, but you basically saw Wesley Snipes just kick total ass in that movie, and then of course they made a sequel 4 years later called Blade 2, which he had in this movie. He had to form an unallied with a vampire council to combat these Reaper vampires who basically feed on vampires, and they actually moved it to another level, I think, which I thought was great. And of course, that movie was directed by Guillermo del Toro, and you can tell, Guillermo del Toro, the movie was, they put more money, I think, into the production, because the first movie, I think, was kind of low budget, but you can tell they put more money into the sequel, and of course, directed by Guillermo del Toro, and just a fantastic sequel where Blade basically has to team up with these vampires, and it's a total, to fight an even more horrific foe that even scared vampires. And that movie's just so kick-ass, and I love the opening scene in Blade 2 as well. That was just another kick-ass opening scene. Okay, with Blade coming back into, and this is a spoiler, I guess, for those who haven't seen Blade 2, to basically, save Whistler. And if you've seen the first movie, you know what I'm talking about. And of course, they had this whole cast of characters. Even Ron Perlman. I actually, I remember him distinctly being in Blade 2 and being an absolute asshole of a character. And the way he's dispatched is absolutely lovely. And it just made the Blade franchise, took it again to another level and made it another memorable horror movie and action movie. Okay, and then of course finally came Blade 3, which let's say it wasn't the best movie. That movie, of course, was written by David Goyer and actually directed by him, and there were all sorts of issues with the movie. Of course, I think that was the first movie that David Goyer ever directed, and they said that him and Wesley Snipes frequently clash on the set, and because again, I think the producers, they cast Ryan Reynolds and Jessica Biel as I forgot what the name of their characters were. They were supposed to be also hunters, vampire hunters as well. And I guess they wanted to kind of spin them off, so they kind of, shoved them into this movie, which, which kind of disappointed me because I like Blade being the central focus of the movies, but they put them in the movie and stuff, and they weren't that bad. Ryan Reynolds was basically playing Deadpool before he played Deadpool in that movie and stuff, and Jessica Biel I thought was tough enough, and I thought she did a decent job, but again, the part of Blade by Wesley Snipes, his part was underwritten, and like I said, they were frequently mentioned. There were clashes between him and David S. Goyer, who wrote the movie and directed it. And I think even at one point, I think he might have Wesley Snipes might have even sued the studio, I think, and I think that was probably what the thing was that led him to being kind of blackballed and kind of regulated to making B movies. Okay, but now hopefully, his career is hopefully going to go on a upswing, because now he's been in a few movies since he's gotten out of prison, and now he's on the show Player on NBC. So hopefully his career, and I know they've been talking about, at least West Sykes has been talking about him having talks with Marvel about maybe making a fourth Blade movie, maybe focusing on his daughter. Okay, but I would love to see another Blade movie, of course, but this one, hopefully they won't, if they do another movie, they won't waste his character again, by trying to shift the focus to somebody else. I think I've seen Wesley Snipes and what he looks like now. He looks like, to me, he can totally do another Blade movie. Okay, he's still in good shape, and I think they should really, if they want to bring his daughter in, okay, fine, but don't shift the focus of the movie off of Blade. Okay, I think that's one of the parts that Wesley Snipes can actually play, not actually play, but can play very well and excellently. And if you don't believe that, watch the Blade TV series, which was a cluster. To me, it was a cluster F. Okay, and first of all, they cast an actor who's really a rapper for Blade, and they actually shift the focus off of Blade into to a secondary character again, which made which totally ruined it for me. Okay, I really wanted to like the Blade TV series, but they totally screwed up that again, and of course it got canceled after one season. And of course, but again, because they screwed up to me by shifting the focus off of Blade like they did in Part 3. Okay, the movies are called Blade for a reason. Make Blade the focus of the movies. Okay, and if you're gonna do another movie, make Blade the focus. I know there were rumors talking about again making because I think they might be in the comics that they introduced a daughter for Blade. But if you want to do that, okay, fine. But don't keep the primary focus on the character that everybody wants to see, Blade, and Blade kicking ass. Okay, that's what we want if they do make another movie, which I hope they do. Okay, don't lose focus. Okay, keep the focus on Blade. Okay, that's all I ask. Okay, so again, I know this is a sort of unusual Saturday horror review, but I wanted to just do something unusual. You know, because I didn't have quite the time to watch a horror movie, but I wanted to do, you know, something horror related. You know, and Blade, you know, Blade basically the movie series, and also I didn't talk much. Again, I talked a little bit about it, but the Blade the TV series, which to me was wasted potential because again they shift the focus from Blade, maybe because again they hired a rapper to be Blade, and I guess maybe they didn't trust his acting chops, so they kind of shift the focus to a secondary character, which totally ruined the series for me. And of course, it got canceled. Okay, and again, I think a Blade TV series could work. You know, especially now on Netflix. You know, if they were to do that, I would love to see that. Okay, if they do a Blade uh, TV series on like just like the one like Daredevil, like the one they did for Daredevil on Netflix. If they were to do that on Netflix, a Blade television series, can you imagine that on Netflix, a 10-episode series? That would be fantastic. Like I said, I don't know if they would give Wesley Snipes. They may cast somebody younger for that. For that, they may do that. More likely, they may do that. But if they do another movie, I think they definitely can use Wesley Snipes for that. I think it would be great. But if they do like a TV series on Netflix, I think I'd probably want them to maybe cast younger, especially if it's going to be a 10-episode series, or maybe, you know. But I wouldn't be opposed if they, you know, cast. But I don't know. Well, he does. I was gonna say I don't know if he's gonna do TV, but he's doing TV right now on the player. But I would love for to be. I would love if Wesley Snipes would they do a series on Netflix for Blade, and if Wesley Snipes wants to play Blade, I wouldn't be opposed to him being cast, or you cast somebody younger. Okay, but make sure he's an actor who can actually do the stunts and stuff and be a kick-ass. Don't hire any more rappers who can't act to be Blade. Okay, you want Blade to be badass, and you want him to be able to act. Okay, that's all I ask. Okay, anyway, let me know what you think of Blade, the movie series, and also maybe Blade, the TV series. What do you thought of it? Okay, again, I thought it had potential, but they totally shift the focus off the main character, Blade, to a secondary character, which totally ruined it for me. Okay, but I love the first two movies. The third movie, not so much. Again, a weak story. Okay, horrible direction by David S. Goyer, which is probably why he didn't direct another movie. Anyway, and Dracula being a weak protagonist or villain, excuse me, a weak villain in the third movie, and again, too much, and trying to shove Ryan Reynolds and Jessica Biel's character into the movie to try to get them popularity so they can get their own movie, which never happened. Okay, so anyway, let me know what you think. Feel free to leave comments down below. And this is Trepacer saying so long and take care.